There was no rock. Do 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 was no rock. Do 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 was no rock. Do 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 do. There was no rock the entire time. Amazing. The biggest swerve of the year. Rich Latter getting me to laugh on Twitter. Just a thing of, can we induct Rocky to the Hall of Fame again? That's an amazing play. Like, do you know what I want? I'm referencing Mock the Week here. For British people, are going to recognise this bit, but you know what I really want? What I really want is for a whole arena of people just to tell me how great I am, only I'm not there. Oh, I love it. It's amazing. I don't know if I can laugh enough at this. I love it so much. I love it so much. Anyway, my name is Matt Maher, aka Imp, and we are live here on Wrestling Headlines YouTube and later available in podcast form for the Survivor Series Aftershock, live immediately following the pay-per-view. It literally ended like 3 minutes ago. I've got everything set up, all ready to go, and I'm like, okay, there's like a certain amount of time. I've set it for like 25 to. It's all right. I've pushed it back every now and then. Then, assumably, whoever's going to walk out, then he can do a thing at the end. They've been building up Rocky all night. It's his 25th anniversary. This entire show is dedicated to The Rock. They kept showing video packages throughout the night. There's references to him throughout the show. And the whole thing with Vince McMahon and an egg, which is brilliant. Where it's a reference to his film Red Notice, which is currently on Netflix. I've not watched the film. And as soon as I saw it, I was like, is that one of the eggs that I saw on the trailer? Because I've seen like one scene teased. I thought those were there. Clearly I was right. It is a reference to it. It's the egg from the film. And they've got a whole bit. The egg goes missing. It's like, oh, well, surely Rocky took the egg. Or somebody's taken the egg. They could do a whole thing. It's going to be a reveal. Who took the egg? It's not on the show. It's not revealed on the show. Tune into Monday Night Raw to find out who took Vince McMahon's $100 million egg. Just peak my biggest reaction of what am I watching as I watched Vince McMahon shout at Adam Pearce to go for my egg. I'm like, what is this? That is greatest. But anyway, I let it slide at the time because I was like, you know what? Fine. It's building up to The Rock coming out or something or somebody from the film, and then later in the show, Caleb Braxton tell Paul Heyman, oh, by the way, like Brock Lesnar, yeah, his suspension being indefinite, yeah, that bit's over now. And Heyman's like, oh crap, oh, okay. So then he goes to the match, and I'm like, okay, if it's not Rocky, they've at least set up Lesnar. They've at least set that up. If it's neither of those two, somebody has taken the egg. So there's at least something. But no, Big E and Roman Reigns had their main event, and then the show ended. And I just go onto Twitter to put out the hype for this, to put out the promo for this, the tweet for this. That's my wrestling brain kicking in. And I just see loads of people just like, oh, there really was no Rock. Oh. Oh, it's brilliant. Absolutely brilliant. Just a whole company just putting everything into building up this guy. Isn't this guy amazing? He's fantastic. Only he's not there. It's brilliant. I love it. I'm not meant to be laughing. It's just that one of the things that was brought up was someone was jokingly comparing it to AEW with the whole CM Punk thing. And somebody was just joking. It's like, oh no, it feels like that AEW show. Only it's just that they are telling you on the show, no, trust us. We're giving little teasers, just letting you know, trust us. Only the person's reaction was, only it's WWE. Because they do that, that doesn't mean the thing's gonna actually happen. And I was like, nah, it's gonna happen. It's fine. It's fine. Like I'm feeling like I wasn't positive going into this show, but you know what? No, it's fine. It's fine. You know what? Yeah, it's fun. Yeah, it's fine. It's perfectly fine. The show might be like my overall end review might be kinder to it if there's like a nice thing at the end of it. Even though it lost me at match 3 and never won me back. If the ending did something just to jolt my interest, yeah, I might be more positive by the end of it. The show just ended. There's nothing. They did exactly what that kind of person was kind of joking about. Oh, I love it. I love it so much. Just because it's such a good example of just whatnot of like little kind of things wrong, I'd say, with WWE, just minor things, So, oh, they can't, if you think of, oh, they couldn't get The Rock, they couldn't get him. It's like, he's such a busy guy. Like, it's understandable that they couldn't get him. It's not the end of the world. I'm like, then why do a bloody show built all around him if he's not there? Yeah, you're building up your audience expectation that something's going to happen, that he's going to be there. But he's not there. So you're building to nothing. You're building up expectations that are obviously going to be let down because he's not there. I don't know what the live reaction's currently like, because they are still... Because I've gone live so quickly, they are surely still leaving the arena. Unless Barclays is incredible and can get everyone out in like 5 minutes, then round of applause. My God, what an ending! I say what an ending. I think I'll get to it. So the main event was the WWE Champion versus Universal Champion Big E versus Roman Reigns. This was, of course, the Raw versus SmackDown. One night a year, superstars from both brands face each other, and the best thing about that is on this show, they hyped both Raw and SmackDown superstars being on Raw tomorrow. And I'm like, you couldn't even keep the stipulation past one show after this. And the one night a year, Raw and SmackDown stars face each other, aside from all the other ones, that makes this show not special in the slightest. that you really felt that on this show, especially from match 3, 4 and 5. Like, the crowd weren't into them at all because there were no stakes. Like, yes, you could do the counter of, like, oh, Raw versus SmackDown, so whoever wins it there, which I only saw on Twitter. That wasn't even brought up by WWE's Twitter account, like who was winning throughout the night. Not even their Twitter account was keeping count. It was just the fans. And then the stakes were so low that even on their own programming, on their own like social media accounts, like who was winning on the night was never mentioned. Because there were no stakes, it didn't actually matter. There wasn't a competition this year. So, did I think that Vince had the Taker urn? Is that what the egg was at the end? Is that what the egg actually was? And that's why he was like, oh crap, I really shouldn't lose this. Taker will get me. But it's, it makes more sense than a tease for The Rock who's not there. It's brilliant. But yeah, so it didn't actually, none of the results mattered. They weren't building to anything. The only people keeping track of who was winning out of Raw and SmackDown were the fans. WWE weren't doing it. It was never mentioned on the show. So there were no stakes, and you really felt that for me at the peak in the women's match. In the women's 5-on-5 match, you really felt it. The crowd did not care. They were gone, they were lost. Like, almost as if you needed just a little bit of heat to get invested in the match. And WWE's normally over the top with that stuff, but for this show, there was nothing. Absolutely nothing. There can be the given excuses and things. Oh, well, this happened. The given word was, oh, because of Crown Jewel, they had to focus on that, and then they had to focus on the draft. So they're just getting all that kind of in line. So there wasn't the time to build a Survivor Series. To which I immediately look at this and go, these are all self-implemented things. Like, that's the thing with something like WWE. Because, like a TV show, it's written. It is composed by somebody. So you can just move the draft. You control everything. Case in point, over AEW, they've booked their shows so that they're in cities. They're in hometown cities of members of the stable that are with the babyface champion, so that his opponent for the championship can beat people of his stable in their own hometowns and can get built up to face the champion. And that's a level of control that Vince has, but he can't even build to his own show because it's just so convoluted thing around it. I will say, after Survivor Series, they've got now a really nice stretch till day 1 on January 1st. From today, which for me is currently 4:45 in the morning on the 22nd of November, it's got from now to the 1st of January with no pay-per-view. There's nothing there to stop him. It's just a straight build, aside from Christmas and the holidays. There's a straight build. There's nothing in the way. So surely day 1 will be built well, right? What is that, 5-6 weeks? You've got time to do it now. You've got the time. Anyway, talk about the main event. So for me, before this main event, this show lost me at what I'm calling the Pizza Battle Royal, because that match was more advertisement of pizza than it was of anything of substance. It's just cool. They made they had almost be really, really dominant, but they've already done that. This didn't really establish anything further than we've already seen. We've got to see Big Boy be dominant, and it lost the crowd. For me, this is where I pinpoint it. And I feel like I'm getting a bit more natural at pinpointing when my fatigue kind of kicks in, purely because I've been doing it for a year now with the Monday Night Raw reviews, where I specifically knew that I was getting tired of these shows. I felt like there was a fatigue point, so I started tracking when it was. And now I've kind of like got a third instinct when I can feel it. It's like, that's when it was. I've just got, after a year of it, you just get used of, I need to note down that my fatigue point's happened. It's like it's just naturally I pick it up now. But yeah, the Battle Royal, that was my fatigue point, and I never recovered. I thought that I would recover for the main event. And when I felt it at the start, with them doing their entrances, with Big E getting a little bit of the crowd behind him. It was like, this is a big match for Big E. Then you've got Roman Reigns with his big booming superstar entrance. And as those two were facing each other, I felt it. Like a faded atmosphere springing to life as Big E and Roman Reigns stood face to face. And the match itself, it was your Reigns pace for a main event. Like something that we're somewhat familiar with at this point. Personally, one that I love. It feels like such a big deal as his opponents more than get an opportunity to fire back. I'm tired at this point, but I was here for the ride. I don't mind these main events. Like looking at Twitter, not everybody was. I'm not going to lie though, I enjoy these Reigns main events. That said, at the end of a show that had lost me, I didn't get back in. I'm just putting that as a little preamble that I like the Reigns main events. This one didn't bring me in, and I think it was more on the show before it than the match itself. And I want to say the same for the Women's Survivor Series match. I wouldn't say the match was inherently awful, but it definitely got dragged down by the kind of dead crowd around it, because quite often you'll feed off it. But when they're not making noise, that you also just naturally, there is a little bit of a feeding the other way. Not feeding, a life suck. There we go. I try to find a non-graphic way. Very well. I will say for this main event, the crowd were kind of getting behind E's fight back as Roman Reigns was hitting Superman punch after Superman punch. Dueling chants for them both, though, as they both slowly rose up. Reigns is a star, but the winner's never in doubt, and we're reaching that point where, as these matches still have that same length, that I'm starting to feel the length of these matches as Reigns' wins are just more and more certain as the challenges fall further and further. Like currently, there's Drew McIntyre, who also doesn't feel like he should win, because he's not being built up to actually defeat Reigns. Because that's the other thing. Again, I feel like in WWE, I'm finding it more and more difficult to not look to the other side of the pond. Not the side of the pond, but the other side with AEW. Well, I just see them constantly building the next thing. And I look at WWE, and they're only just managing to build the current thing. Which is crazy. As in, they're doing a really, really good job at making Reigns feel like a megastar, but they're not building anybody. Even if it's under the surface. Nobody is getting consistency. So there's no one that's going to rise up to him. Which was kind of the problem in the John Cena era. And I feel like maybe it just feels like a longer problem because it took them so long to have Reigns find his feet and to actually book him correctly. Now they're doing it, they're establishing him, but he's been on top for so long that I don't know how long they can kind of keep this, really. You can build somebody on Raw and then move them over to go, like they do on Drew McIntyre. But since he's moved to SmackDown, he's just kind of, he's been around, but he feels like a top guy, but he doesn't feel like a top guy that should end Roman Reigns' reign. He doesn't feel like he's got that kind of momentum behind him, and they're not really putting in the work to make him like that. They're holding off the match. That's good. I don't know for what for. Be it that's their WrestleMania idea, but something tells me they're going to bring somebody back. They're talking about Brock Lesnar immediately, so something tells me they might do that sooner rather than later, be it Day 1 or Royal Rumble. But yeah, this was a main event with the end never in doubt, and this was the first time it hurt the main event for me. Like in the previous main event with Finn Balor, or was there one in between that I've missed because I wasn't able to cover it? But at Extreme Rules, there was that thing of not... Yeah, even though you believe Roman's going to win, I was still into the match until the bollocks ending. And when that ending happened, I'm like, okay, they're becoming a bit desperate to come up with new ways for Roman Reigns to win. So at least here, no bullshit finish. I've gone 15 minutes into the show, I can say the word. Like, no BS. It was a mostly fine match, and the crowd got into it. I was just tired, and I thought it would bring me back. And I don't know. It's weird. Quite often I feel like I'll be down on WWE because I was down on them before. This is the opposite way round. I thought this would be the match to bring me back. I thought, no, yeah, yes, I've been kind of taken out of the show, but this was really a 2-match card. And the first one really delivered. I absolutely loved it. And I'm just looking at this one going, well, I've got no doubt I'd enjoy this one as well. I didn't. And you know what? The positive, though, is whilst I was watching the match, I didn't care if Roman Reigns or anyone else came out. I was at least paying attention. I was at least invested in what was happening. I wouldn't say it grabbed me or woke me up or anything. As past Roman Reigns matches have done that, because they have had multiple shows already, which kind of been a 1-match card. Then Roman Reigns match happens, and I've loved it, and what's over the pay-per-view perfectly happy. This one, it lost me, and then this match didn't bring me back. It's like, oh, that's a shame. They didn't do anything seemingly different, and maybe that's the problem. Maybe that is that thing. It's like, okay, we do need to kick it up, or at least build a credible challenger. Put that effort in at least in the background, because you're going to hit a brick wall eventually. Which is, again, what happened in the John Cena era. Eventually, Daniel Bryan rises up. Eventually, CM Punk, we're talking years at that point. The crowd turned against the character. I don't know. The character is so good. I don't know if it's going to be that. Because John Cena's character was, for me, nowhere near as strong as Roman Reigns. So there's that. Anyway, I could talk about this for a while. It just feels like it needs a little bit of analysing. Yeah, I leave Survivor Series not knowing what to think of it. I really enjoyed the opener. I've really enjoyed the second match with the men's Survivor Series. I wouldn't say I agreed with everything. There were quite a few moments I was like, oh, really? But I still overall enjoyed the match. I'm still finding it fun. It's the best way to put it. But then the Battle Royal took me out. I didn't get into the tag team match. I didn't get into the Women's Survivor Series one. And I thought the main event would pull me back up more than it did. But also at the end, after they've been teasing something happening, like at bare minimum, something like Lesnar, or something with the mysterious egg, whatever it is. But there was absolutely nothing. The show just went off air, and people on Twitter are just like, oh, okay, he's actually not there. Oh, okay. Why did you hype him up all night? So again, I just love the idea of what I really want is a whole room of people telling me how great I am. Only I'm not there. It's great. Anyway, so Survivor Series. Because the other thing with this Survivor Series is they were promoting Red Notice a lot throughout the show. The new film with Ryan Reynolds, Gal Gadot, and The Rock over on, well, not The Rock, Dwayne Johnson. The reason it's not called The Rock is because they have to pay him royalties. They have to pay WWE royalties every time they say The Rock. So films just don't call him Rock. So that's the end of that. Yeah, there's a little tidbit I found out. Anyway, so it's on Netflix, and apparently it's not been critically it's not done very well. I wouldn't say it's a film that's going to win any awards, but if you're tired, if you just want a little bit of silly fun with a plot that maybe doesn't make sense, but it doesn't matter because it's got funny ha-ha, kind of. It's just, low brain effort flick. It's that kind of level of film. I've not seen it. So when they did all this stuff around it, like, this is a strange amount of strong kind of references and things for a film that's like, it's not quite on that level to be integrated so strongly. I know it's apparently doing well on Netflix in terms of numbers, so at least there's that. But I found it funny, me watching this, not having a clue really what they're referencing. As in like the more specific things. I've not seen the film. I just knew who was in it. I kind of knew the premise because one day we came close to watching it, but we didn't. We were in that tired mood of, let's just put on something. I guess this dumb movie will do. At that level, but we ended up putting on something else. Anyway. Yeah, so Survivor Series kicked off with a Red Notice trailer directly edited into the main show hype video. It's like, oh, okay, cool. It's an interesting vibe. If there's one thing I'm going to know after this pay-per-view, it's what Red Notice is. And what I know Red Notice is it's a film with Ryan Reynolds, Dwayne Johnson, Gal Gadot, and an egg. I think I've got it down. And that's it. Anyway, so the show kicked off with the Raw Women's Champion versus SmackDown Women's Champion. Again, all night Raw versus SmackDown, hyped as the one night a year that Raw versus and SmackDown competitors go against each other on the same show that they hyped Raw and SmackDown competitors both being on Raw tomorrow. It's incredible. The synergy is just yes, bon appetit. Also, again, there was no kind of score tracker after any of these matches. There was no keeping up with what this meant, like who was winning overall on the night, what it meant for either brand, so none of these matches had any consequence, not even in like a one show type of thing. Like there wasn't, not even in a sense of, oh, on this show we're going to keep a little tally and one of the brands will be crowned the best brand on the night. There was no tally. It was never mentioned. I'd be surprised if they don't mention it on Raw, or would I? Why are Raw SmackDown Superstars on Raw tomorrow? Unless it's like more tour related and they're doing the show, so why not just be at Barclays as well? Yeah, it's weird. But yes, that's just the main point of it, is this show is highly inconsequential to the point that the show itself didn't keep track of anybody's winnings, so even these didn't matter. It was just more like a little showcasey type thing, I guess. Anyway, but this main event was brilliant. This opening match, this main event is, honestly for me, this was my main event. This was I made it my thumbnail. I was banking on it, and then after I made it, I got everything set up. I saw a few hours before the show that Becky Lynch and Flair is rumoured to be the main event. I was like, oh, cool, okay. Then when things got switched around, I just assumed it was because maybe like the Rock's couldn't come out afterwards or something. There's a reason for Reigns Big E to be the main event. Turns out, no, not really. Not really that big a reason. But anyway, so Lynch vs Flair ended up opening the show, and this was my favourite match of the night by far. Like the one match on the show whose build had actually held my interest, and boy did it deliver. Because like the Survivor Series matches had little builds, but a lot of it was inconsistent. Because I put out a tweet which didn't go down well with a certain crowd. I was just saying that this show feels like it's only got one story. And after talking to like Rants of Chairshot Radio, I was like, maybe I'm being a bit harsh on Big E Roman. They hadn't aired SmackDown this week, and I assumed that would be the episode where everything that Reigns is doing kind of gets tied stronger to Big E. And I think that is exactly what happened. But for the other matches, I felt like there wasn't much story, and it turns out that wasn't what because I put it down there being like a story, and then a few hours after I put out that tweet, Becky Lynch herself, it was quoted in an article talking about Survivor Series not having stakes, and she wanted stakes to be added because Raw versus SmackDown, that's no stakes. And I'm like, that's exactly the feeling. That's exactly so that's it. I was wrong pointing at the story stuff. What it actually was what Becky Lynch said, because as soon as she said it, I was like, that's hit it. That's hit the feeling that I was getting with this show and really put it in the forefront. There's no stakes and none of it matters. Which because when I was trying to explain the story thing, my main point was, if the results don't matter, if nothing's going to be spinning off of this, then why should I care? Why should I be interested in anything that's happening? And Lynch versus Flair, because the thing I put out was there was one story. Lynch versus Flair was that story. I felt like they'd nailed this. It span off of a segment going horrific, a crap, stupid segment going horrifically wrong, as both women seemingly don't want to do the stupid thing, but the boss wants them to do it, so they're being professional and doing it, kind of. Obviously, the professional thing kind of slips, the backstage kind of fallings out over how this segment should have happened, appearing on the screen, which is not great, but they span it well. And this was by far the most invested I was in any match. Because the closest to that are the little workings on Survivor Series 1, where it was brought to my attention, obviously, that the Hurt Business and Adam Pearce had been screwing over the Mysterios to get them out of the match. To which, like, in my head, I'm just like, but Adam Pearce said the week previously that he wanted just world champions on the team, which was why he took off Dominic Mysterio. So cool, you add in Bobby Lashley by taking out Dominic Mysterio, you get that with attention, cool. But then that makes no sense why you take off Rey Mysterio and put an Austin Theory. As in, it doesn't follow from the week previously. It follows from the logic that Adam Pearce had on that week's Raw, the one before Survivor Series. That logic tracks. But what he said the week previously is no longer canon. That's no longer a thing. The continuity is not there from week to week. That's shit. It's the best way to put it. If you say a thing on the TV show, you can't then pretend it doesn't happen. Because then, you're like, but that doesn't make sense. Because I don't know why Adam Pearce cares. We are told he cares. He says he cares, but I don't know why. I don't know, and that reflects onto me. Is like, but I don't know why I should care. Because I think there's no stakes. Adam Pearce and Sonya Deville, they're not separate Raw and SmackDown people. They don't have a vested interest other than making the best teams because a higher-up has told them they need to. Well, that's not... Why should I give a shit about that? Why do I care? But any of that as a reason. Anyway, I want to talk about the... I moaned on. My point being, I would say the Survivor Series match had little stories that I would be surprised if there is any follow-up after this show. I'd like a Bobby Lashley Rey Mysterio thing. That's a personal preference. I mean, that was the main event, wasn't it? They did it. Yeah, I'd be surprised if there's any spin-off aside from the Kevin Owens Seth Rollins stuff. I'd be really surprised. And possibly building up Kevin and Seth to be separate heel competitors for Big E. The Survivor Series is more used as a character driving thing for certain people rather than an event that has any consequence at all. That's my prediction. But Lynch vs Flair is the opposite. He had heat going in, he had heat by the end of it, and coming out as well. You could just see how it would positively spin for both of them. Easy my main event. I absolutely loved this. 20 minutes or so, that absolutely flew by. A white hot pace right out of the gate, blasting through all of the familiarities as the two fed off the sheer amount of times they faced each other, with plenty of counters and readings outside of the kicks and strikes that they were getting each other down with. A seriously blistering first 10 minutes that I can't applaud enough. Like, really, really strong stuff. And also to applaud Charlotte putting out Andrade's double moonsault spot, as well as, and I saw a bit of confusion online over what this was. I was like, oh, was that a little bit of a shooty shoot? Like, no. Charlotte Flair went for the Andrade boot into a back elbow, which looks amazing, and Charlotte Flair also made it look devastating. To that point of maybe half buying it as realistic, as real. It's like, oh, did she kind of stiff her a bit? It's like, seriously, no, that's the move. It's the Andrade boot into an elbow. I thought it looked great. Flair making a thing of stealing Becky's moves too, like the Bexploder in the first half of the match and the Disarm Her later on. Like, in the end, neither having the other down and beat, Lynch winning after Flair rolled her up only to be caught grabbing the ropes, and for karma to strike immediately in the form of Becky doing the exact same to her, only not getting caught. It's like, oh, I love it. Going for the O'Connor roll, and Charlotte Flair grabs the ropes and cheats, and then Becky does the same thing. Difference is she doesn't get caught and she wins. Like, yeah, I wouldn't have minded a strong cemented winner. However, for me, this is a fantastic example of thing doesn't equal bad. As in, winning with a roll-up, or after a quick series of roll-ups, suddenly out of nowhere, isn't bad when the rest of the match kind of fits that same pace. They're just constantly striking at each other, like a lightning pace. A lightning finish to a lightning match is fine. If anything, it's extremely fitting for this very specific way this match was structured, which, again, I adored. Easily my match of the night. It was 20 minutes that I can't falter. There may have, like, even if there were mistakes in there, I don't care. Because the overall story they were telling, it got me, it gripped me. What they were going for, they absolutely got that across to me. And the kind of momentum they were rolling with from start to finish, I felt like the pace never died. Obviously it did. Like, someone would be down for a move and they'll take a second to recover. But you never felt it. I can't praise this match enough. Easily my match of the night. One of my favourite WWE matches of this year. I don't think it's a long list, to be fair. I've not particularly been massively enamoured with the promotion in 2021. But yeah, I thought this was fantastic. I don't really know. I haven't got any notes of criticism because I just put it on and enjoyed it. And it was the one match I was looking forward to. It was my main event. I was ready to crap on a show and then enjoy the main event, but it's the other way around. Loved the main event. So I love the opening match. After that, that's the one word there I didn't want to make. But yeah, can't praise it enough. Like if you're for some reason listening to me having not watched the show, I'm massively praising this opening match, and it's right at the start. You don't have to watch the rest of the show. If you have access to Survivor Series, highly recommend you watch this opening match. I really, really enjoyed it. I don't really feel like I can give it much more praise. Just absolutely loved it. And no, I don't think it really hurt either competitor. And no, it wasn't. It's your standard WWE finish. This is the example of when to do it. The issue for me is when you get a finish like this multiple times, or you watch Monday Night Raw and it'll be a nothing match that ends like this, suddenly out of nowhere. Like you weren't invested in it, and then you get a quick roll up out of nowhere, and the commentators go, "Oh, it's a finish out of nowhere, isn't that incredible? What an upset!" And the crowd kind of care. This was a white hot match, and the sudden finish just fit. It just fit the match so well. For me, it's the perfect ending, and it felt. And the thing is, because both were really going at each other, Lynch got the better of Flair, but neither was able to beat each other. So you're perfectly fine to see a rematch, but I also felt like I got the money's worth from it. I didn't feel cheated, which is often an issue with WWE where they'll come up with some convoluted finish. I think for me the best thing about this is it's not convoluted. It's literally just two people going at each other, not afraid to cheat to get the win over each other, just to prove and be able to hold that crown that they pinned them. They don't have to beat them. They don't have to defeat them, is the word I was looking for. They just have to win. And well done. Can't applaud it enough. Anyway, now to the rest of the show, which isn't going to be as applause worthy. Again, my main thing for the main event I talked about, I wanted to like the main event. I didn't hate it, but it didn't wake me back up from the show that had kind of just turned me off. Absolutely loved the opening match. Cannot praise it enough. I want to remind you of that before I talk about the rest of the show. Massively positive about Flair Lynch. I have no criticism for it. I absolutely loved it. Then we get to the rest of the show. Let's keep the chipper smile as I say negative things. So the men's 5 vs 5 traditional Survivor Series elimination match. Raw's team, Bobby Lee Lashley, Kevin Owens, Seth Rollins, Finn Balor and Austin Theory versus SmackDown's Drew McIntyre, Jeff Hardy, King Woods, Happy Corbin and Sheamus. SmackDown obviously hit by the gimmick bug a lot worse than Raw. Just hopefully they can take something to kind of get over those symptoms. So I don't know how I feel about this one. It's a mix. Great fun action, but the eliminations themselves built an odd taste over the course of the match. Like 3 eliminations from count out in one match? Really? There was a 4th in the women's. But the crowd were right behind Jeff Hardy for those final minutes. So can I crap at it that much when it clearly kind of did its job by the end? The crowd weren't not into this match. They loved it. And I was just thinking, when this match ended, I just thought, this could be on to be a really solid pay-per-view. Like, these 2 matches, yes, I wouldn't agree. I felt like, I don't know how I feel about this match, but would say momentum-wise, this pay-per-view was still running after this match. It was, I wouldn't say this was the down point where I would suddenly become negative on this show. Even though I wasn't as positive, I still say it kept the positivity rolling. Like the feelings on the show was still good. The vibes were good, man. After this match, the vibes were still there. It was the match after it died. So, oh well. But I would say as well, negative for the KO for Kevin Owens. So first off, to get the negative out of the way, it's the exact same start to last year's Survivor Series, where Seth Rollins suddenly decided to sacrifice himself for the greater good of the team. And I have sacrificed myself so that you may live, you may go, and you may run fire. But in this one, Kevin Owens, he leaves for different reasons, but it's a Raw team member immediately taking himself out of the match. Just immediately. It's the exact same finish. It's the exact same start as last year. It's like, oh, well, that sucks. But KO immediately abandoning his team in a move that makes sense for me the moment when I try and figure it out. For me, it makes sense the moment I remember to include wins and losses don't matter into my thinking. Because this, 'tis but a character moment. As the smartest man in the room just doesn't take part in the match with no stakes. Like, yeah, why would heel KO care about the brand? To be fair, why does anybody? But specifically, why would selfish heel Kevin Owens why would he care one bit about this match? Like, yeah, yes, it gets across that wins and losses don't matter, because he's perfectly fine to take a loss because there's no stakes in the match, so it doesn't matter if he loses. But the negative is that wins and losses don't matter. It's like cemented into this, like this entire booking type of thing. The reason it makes sense is because the wins and losses don't matter. It's a positive because there's an overall negative. That works. This specific arc works because there's a bigger problem with the company and the way that they personally do stuff. But yeah, anyway, the KO character, it makes sense for him to not care one iota about this match with no stakes. It literally, like, it's like, oh, why would he leave his team? But doesn't he want the win? Generally doesn't matter. So just don't take part. He'll still be facing Big E for the championship. It literally doesn't matter. So anyway, the Red Boys up against it then as the Blue Baddies run riot on the opportunity. Not eliminating anybody, but they looked in good spirits doing it. Probably should have eliminated someone though, as Finn Balor comes flying down with the coup de grace to eliminate Corbin. It's like, oh, even Stevens then 4-4. Woods making work out of Theory, only for Seth and Bobby to work baddie numbers and get and throw a spear at the King. That did not miss. Hurt Lock to eliminate poor Xavier, curse of the ring. As Lashley and McIntyre's continuous brawl outbursts after that throughout the match finally found them as the legal men in the ring, only to do more brawls and both be counted out. It's like, that's Kevin Owens, Drew McIntyre and Bobby Lashley all counted out. Like we're back in the 1980s. Yeah, if you've watched WWF in the 1980s, a lot of non-finishers, which you watch it and go, that wouldn't stand up today. Here we are, watching one match with 3 separate people counted out. Oh well. Anyway, Claymore to get that heat back, brother. I also like Seth Rollins trying to take the piss out of Drew McIntyre, only to get a sweet Glasgow kiss. I love that bit. Balor simply straight up eliminated after getting bro kicked at the end of a great back and forth with his fellow Irishman Sheamus, setting up our 2 versus 2 with Rollins and Theory against Sheamus and Jeff Hardy. It's like, hey, if Jeff and Shamu can coexist after the former threw urine in the latter's face this time last year, then so can you. I write, as Sheamus clocks Hardy in anger after Theory got a surprise elimination roll up on him. It's like, oh, okay. Can they coexist? No. No, they can't. Also, if you want the joke logic for Kevin Owens, for him leaving, it's like the question of can they coexist? Kevin Owens just simply answers no and leaves. Yeah, smart guy. Jeff Hardy recovering back for a swanton to Theory as the crowd really rallied behind him. The eternally over Jeff Hardy for the final 2 lads, to no avail. Hardy running fire as Barclays Centre genuinely got right behind him, only for Seth to get the knees up on the swanton and curb stomp the man into defeat. So yeah, it's a weird one. The crowd were really behind Jeff Hardy in the end. So the final minutes, I can't say anything other than no, they were solid, they were great. But it was just a weird, and I thought I think I've generally just enjoyed the action that was happening. But whenever it got to an elimination spot, there's just something off about it, and the fact there were 3 countouts as well. It's like, it's just, it irks me. It irked me. So it's a weird one. I don't know how high to go for it. The ending landed, which is that's a big positive in its favour, and I was generally fine with the action, but it just felt off. Like 3 countouts is definitely too many. You can't do that in one match. And yeah, that's how I feel. I feel conflicted. Again, I'm massively in favour of Flair versus Lynch. This one, I'm just a little bit conflicted, and I'd probably say it's my second favourite match of the night. Say it was that, and third has to be Reigns Big E, just because the rest of the show just lost me. I was only interested in those 3 matches. That's me saying that after I've watched the show, not in terms of build or anything, just in terms because I wasn't high on the build for the Men's Survivor Series match. But at least there was something there to work with the individual characters, even if I don't know why anybody cares because there's no stakes. And Kevin Owens told me, because that was the other thing as well. I was like, well, at least if there's bragging rights or something, or the people on RAW SmackDown at least care to show the other one that they are going to fight for their brand or whatever, do care at least to win. But Kevin Owens immediately walking out, and just that logic of, oh yeah, why would he take place in a match with no stakes? It tells me the match doesn't matter. Yes, it's good for the Kevin Owens character, but it's bad for your match. It's a weird one. But yeah, still, it didn't break the match for me. It's still fine. And again, after that match, I felt it's just positive vibes still, man. Like, I don't think this is going to be the greatest show in the world ever, but the vibes are still positive. Then the next bit happened. Yes. Also, before this, there was the whole thing with the egg. the first time where Roman Reigns goes into Vince McMahon's office, and Vince has called him in to show him the egg and go, "Hey, Roman, this egg's worth 100 million." And Roman's response of, "Almost as much as my new contract," and leaves, or my next contract, and then he just leaves. And then that's the end of the segment, and I'm just like, right, that wasn't natural at all. Not in the slightest. It's one of WWE's biggest problems with the backstage stuff. None of it is natural. Feels heavily scripted, heavily produced. I swear Vince McMahon is SNL reading his words off a card. It's really weird. Like, the cues are off or whatever, which, given how old he is a bit forgivable, but he's not the only one, I guess. If he was the only one where I got that feeling, it's fine. But when other people on the show feel like cardboard cutouts saying words, it's like, but that's not. You know what? Who cares? It's the best way. It didn't. The good vibes didn't go with that segment. I'm like, that was weird, but it's clearly setting up something. And if this is setting up The Rock, because it's letting you know that egg is from his movie. The Rock must. That was the entire time. This is them telling you, the egg's here. The golden egg is here. Quite literally, the golden egg is here. It wasn't building up anything. The egg disappeared, which could also work as a metaphor. Who took the egg? Hollywood took the egg. I found it. Hollywood took the egg. Oh dear. But yeah. Move on, because this is where the show dies. So The Rock's 25-man 25th anniversary battle royale, and like, hey, battle royals are a tad bit of harmless fun, but I'm tempted to rename this the Pizza Hut Battle Royal, because it was more that. Quite actually, before we go into this, what would The Rock be doing at Survivor Series if he was there? It's I don't mind what he was doing. For me, the only thing I think of is to tease a match with Roman Reigns. But that kind of comes second to the point that they were teasing him on the show. When you watch the show, there are so many kind of build-ups and teasers for The Rock. They made it the 25th anniversary for The Rock. They played his video packages throughout of it, which is like, that's perfectly fine. But then there was a tease with the Red Notice tie-in as well with the golden egg. And I can make the jokey metaphor that the golden egg was here. And then the golden egg was gone. Vince no longer has his golden egg. His golden egg's gone to Hollywood. And that was the story of Survivor Series. I've made it work. There we go. That's your logic. That's your logic. And I'm sticking with it. Yeah, I don't mind what he would have done. I don't think that particularly matters. It's just because when you're putting a show together and you put in those teasers and it doesn't build to anything, just don't put in the teasers. If The Rock's not going to be there, don't make the show The Rock's 25th anniversary. If you do, don't make a battle royal purely dedicated to him. You got the promo packages as well. At least with The Undertaker, when they did that last, The Undertaker was there. He kind of got a little, hey, Undertaker, nothing match. But it was part of the vibe of the show. Just to applaud The Undertaker. But for The Rock to not be there, you then don't do the first bit. If he's not there, if you've got no plans for him, don't do a show building him and applauding him, because otherwise it's just weird to do that. It's just weird. Like, someone made the joke that TNA or Impact Wrestling Bound for Glory got more out of The Rock with a video package saying congratulations to Ken Shamrock than WWE did. WWE did not even a videotape, nothing. On his 25th anniversary Battle Royal, not a peep. It's just weird. Just don't build to it. Just don't build it. Again, this is a problem of their own making. Just don't do the thing. Well, Survivor Series had no build because you had to do the draft. Just move the draft. You control everything. There shouldn't be any of these weird issues. You literally control everything. I find it so strange, so weird. You can move like you can move anything. Nothing's in concrete. This is literally a created world. You can design it however you want. So why are you running into these problems? It makes no sense to me. It makes no sense. Anyway, so this is the match that lost me on this show. So because again, I absolutely loved the opening match. I enjoyed, if not, didn't quite love as much the second match, but the good vibes were here going into this match. But as it took place, it just went on way too long, whilst also not doing anything. Maybe 25 men was maybe too much for the kind of match this was. It literally was like the style of it is a tad of harmless fun, like really quick eliminations, just moving from one spot quickly to the next in a really fast, like run-of-the-mill Monday Night Raw bit of a match. Again, that was more an advertisement for pizza than it was anything of steak substance or worthy of my time. Which is fine, but it just lasted way too long. And for me, the absolute telling thing, this was when the crowd became half interested at what was happening in the ring. This was the first match that it happened in. And it happened with me as well, back over here. It's just, I kind of started semi-paying attention. And I was trying to make notes of who's getting eliminated in what order. And at some point, I just stopped paying attention. Because it suddenly just felt like it didn't matter. And all I put in my notes was, Omos. King Omos. Big boy Omos. Tall human male Omos. Yeah, this match put Omos over huge. But I don't think put him over any more than we've already seen him put over. Yeah, but other than that, I felt like this was a complete waste of time. Even the final focus of the match had the Street Profits giving pizza to the fans. It's just like, this was an advertisement for Pizza Hut. This wasn't a match. This was nothing to do with The Rock. The Rock's name was on it, but it was more to do with pizza. It was anything else. Angry Omos just eliminates everybody till we're down to he and Ricochet. The one man to get a lick in on the tall human male. But the lad just straight up dominated without much of a look in for anyone else. No one got built up as a potential guy to eliminate him. So he just eliminates everybody. He's like, oh, okay, cool. And not even the tall people. The other tall people, because there was Aziz, there was Shanky, there was Otis, there were other big people. But like the closest person to get any momentum was Otis, who did a little bit with R-Truth, who failed to bribe him with pizza. Assumably because that pizza was freezing cold. Can't bribe a man with cold pizza. It can't be done. But yeah, they just had it be pure Omos. So you're just waiting for Omos to win, which again isn't a bad idea for a battle royal. But maybe if there's 25 people, that's too many. And I get the tie-in. I get the idea behind it. But the match wasn't very good. It wasn't very good. And there was no interest built around anyone other than Omos. It's like a centerpiece around two things of Omos and pizza. Obviously, I don't particularly care about the pizza, surprisingly enough. Yeah, pizza's nice, but this is just an advertisement. There's no substance to this. It just felt like a waste of time. So I'm not really going to give more to it than that. It was a build for both Omos and Pizza Hut. The end focus was Pizza Hut and not Omos. Pizza Hut, they got their money's worth. They got that. Anyway, the Raw Tag Team Champions versus SmackDown Champions, RK Bro versus the Usos. And the previous match took me right out as the tiredness really hit. So I was like, okay, you guys, RK Bro, Usos, I trust you. You can bring me right back up. And I felt like they tried, but it took me like half of this match to just get my late night attention right back in. Because I think this match was happening, I think it was either 2 or 3 a.m. by the time this was happening. And this is when it was dawning on me that this show was going to be long. It's like, oh God, after this, we've got another Survivor Series match. I'm ready for this show to end. The pace has been taken out of me by that Battle Royal. And the match itself, the Usos just cutting Riddle off and grinding things right down. Orton eventually getting the hot tag for those announce table backdrops. The back and forth flowing as I noticed a crowd of fans just sat on their asses in half attention. It's like, oh, they've not woken up from the past match. Like, again, the match was fine, but it didn't seem to be able to win them back. And I say the same for me as well. Like, it was fine, there's nothing wrong with it, but I didn't feel any need to pay attention to it. And I don't know, again, if part of that is that the result doesn't matter. There is nothing hinging on this. Biggest example, again, there was no tally for wins and losses. Like, there was no kind of, oh, this is what it means to this on who's winning the night or anything. They just moved on to the next thing. The previous match was never brought up again. So what was that? There was nothing at stake. Like, I'm assuming on Raw they'll say it then, but on the night there was absolutely no mention. It was more like the individuals have done their thing. They've done that. It's like, okay, cool. Would say amazing finish to this match though. Absolutely amazing. Because I'm watching this match and there are loads of spots that are perfectly fine and probably normally get a 3 count. As in, one of the things with wrestlers that they quite often said, even if you think you've done badly, as long as the fans are counting that 3, then you've done your job. And my worry was no count was getting a 3 in this match. No, there was no counting by the crowd for any spot in this match until the end. So at least I had them counting in the end for that awesome, amazing final splash of a big Uso splash caught into an RKO out of nowhere. The crowd popped huge for that, and loud counting 1, 2, 3 for the pin. But for the rest of the match, they sat on their hands. They were just as quiet as they were for the previous match. Like the Usos getting that heat to Riddle, there wasn't really much of a reaction. Like Orton got an initial buzz when he was doing the backdrops at ringside, the crazy man. That wasn't anything massive reaction until the RKO. The RKO was an amazing spot. So yeah, but yeah, this was the point that Raw had officially won the night. But you would only have known that if you were on Twitter and other people told you. That's the only reason I know, because it wasn't brought up on the show. Because it doesn't matter. The matches don't matter. Again, never brought up. There's nothing on the line. There's no stakes. Nothing means anything past the moment. And they also hyped both Raw and SmackDown stars appearing on Raw tomorrow. So it's not even the one night the two brands are facing each other, because that's also happening tomorrow. Yeah. The one night they face each other, aside from all the other ones. And finally, there's a reason that I prefaced this entire bit with, after I finished this, talking about how much I loved Flair versus Lynch. Yeah. Remember that when I'm talking about the rest of the show. There was a positive. And finally, the last match to talk about, so I can go to bed at 5:30 in the morning. Speaking of 5, women's 5 versus 5 traditional Survivor Series elimination match for the women. Raw, Bianca Belair, Carmella, Zelina Vega, Liv Morgan and Rhea Ripley. And on SmackDown, Captain Sasha Banks, Shayna Baszler, Natalya, Toni Storm and Shotzi, no Blackheart. I'm normally high on these elimination matches. Like, even if they're not, there have been years where they're booked really well, followed by a year they're booked crap. They're a bit like James Bond movies to me, Survivor Series matches. You get an amazing film like Casino Royale, followed by a crap film in Quantum of Solace, followed by an amazing film in Skyfall, followed by a rushed piece of crap Inspector, followed by an amazing film in No Time to Die. It's how it works. Good Bond, crap Bond. Seemingly the same with the Survivor Series. You get an amazing Survivor Series, followed by a shit one. Maybe it's like they kind of like overthink it, and the booking's just too heavy on it, like the following year. But I would say that's the last Survivor Series I really enjoyed was 2019 with NXT. I think that was 2019 because I didn't like last year's, and I was conflicted on the earlier one, but this one with the women I just straight up didn't like, and obviously a massive asterisk on that in terms of like this immediate review is I had been taken out of the show prior, and the tag team match didn't pull me back in. So at this point I'm still out. I'm not really invested. I'm watching it, but I don't care about anything that's happening. The action can draw me back in, and we saw examples in this match on how to do this, because there's quite a few negatives that I'm going to have to talk about and like why I think they happened. But again, I'm normally high on Survivor Series matches. This match just wasn't wasn't it, and the crowd were the telling factor here. And again, the massive asterisk is, as I'm saying this, I am tired. I was tired when I watched it, and I had been taken out of the show. So yeah, but yeah, it just felt like I was just waiting for the main event, which is like, yeah, maybe it's like, these matches having no stakes at all. Like, just listen to the crowd chants. They're not paying attention either. I would say Rhea was over until a point. When they started the Mexican Wave, that was more over than Rhea. Shotzi and Banks, their beef got reaction. Really the only strong reaction was when Banks and Belair were wrestling each other. Like, aside from that, they couldn't have cared less. Like, as soon as Bianca tagged out, that's when the CM Punk chants happened. And the CM Punk chants happening during a women's match isn't chanting CM Punk at the women. This is chanting CM Punk at a show they're disinterested in. Whatever match was here, if you switched it round, and the women's Survivor Series match was the second match, and the men's was now, and you give them the same levels of booking for the spot they're in. So let's say the women's is hot at 2, and the men's is not as hot here. The men also get a CM Punk chant. At this point. Specifically at this point. It's just... it's... Like, I kind of feel sorry for them, because the crowd's just gone. They don't care. And it's not because they're women. And I felt sorry for them, because they've been given no reason to care. There are no stakes in this match. And maybe like me, they were ready for the main event. But there were no stakes, and this match was long. Which is just... like, honestly, normally I complain when Survivor Series matches are too short, and when the eliminations happen too quickly. But when Carmella did that whole bollocks with the mask, got a really quick elimination at the hands of Toni Storm, I just thought, you know what? This pace might be perfect for where we are in this show. I don't think this match can go long, because like energy from the crowd is low. And if this match goes long, it's just going to get lower. And the match went long. It went your traditional Survivor Series elimination length. It's like, oh, okay, cool. But yeah, and it took Banks and Belair getting into the ring to stop the Mexican Wave and get their attention back on track. Almost as if you give something for the crowd to be interested in, they will immediately stop the bullshit. Like CM Punk chants, they weren't happening when Banks and Belair were in the ring. Mexican Wave, that stopped immediately when those two got into the ring. It's almost as if they were just disinterested, which absolutely sucks. And that's the best. My one-word review for this match is disinteresting, which has got absolutely nothing to do with the talent, absolutely everything to do with, I guess, the booking around it. And of course, the show to this point had already lost me, mostly because of the Battle Royal, and I just never came back. It just took me out, and I never got to that same point I was at with the men's traditional match. It's just like, oh, it sucks. It sucks. There's quite a few things out of this match's hands. Because I wouldn't say this match was awful or anything, but it was dealt a crap hand because of what happened before. The crowd weren't back into the show, and this match went long. This match shouldn't have gone long, which again isn't like the females in this match. It felt weird to say. Why did I say females? The women in this match, the talent in this match. It felt like JR for a second, trying to find the right word. I'm just tired, I can't find words. But yeah, the women in this match, like, it's not their fault. They were put in they're doing what they're told, but this match should not have been at the pace it was for where it was on the card. There's a reason the crowd reacted like they did. Like, it's a pacing issue more than anything. The pacing of the show was off. The Battle Royal was too long. And then it took out the kind of energy for the tag team match, which itself probably should have been a little bit shorter. The Usos beating on Matt Riddle for just too long. And then this match here, when Carmella got that quick elimination, the pace... Because Becky Lynch, Charlotte Flair, was an absolute lesson on pace. Incredible stuff. I can't praise it enough. But this women's traditional Survivor Series match... Yeah, again, there are pacing issues beforehand which already take you out, but then you get to this match and it slows right down as everybody gets their stuff in. It felt like we were at 5 versus 4 forever when I was just watching it at this point. And I was like, no one's going to get eliminated, and the crowd aren't paying attention to any of this. Like, you're doing this little build, trying to get everybody their little spots in, so that the crowd are kind of like, and the crowd normally would build around this happening and get excited for an elimination. What's actually happening is they're not paying attention to any of this middle bit, and when people are getting eliminated, it's to crickets. There's maybe a slight, oh, or a piped in woo chant for some reason. That's just the one they had on the audio file. I did notice less crowd injected noise. There's often gets called crowd sweetening, but you saw it in this match where when the crowd aren't chanting for the thing, they'll turn the crowd down. But I'm personally against that, because if the likelihood is the crowd is making noise, it's just not the noise you want. So if you turn them down, they sound quiet and the arena sounds dead, which is so much worse than some noise, surely. But when they got loud, for example, with Sasha Banks versus Bianca Belair, they turned it right back up and it sounds like it's a huge pop, like it's an even bigger moment. So there is that. I've just kind of I've just convinced myself that maybe I was wrong there. Anyway, yeah, not high. I would say I'm not high on this match. A lot of it's out of their favour, but I didn't enjoy it. I was just tired. It was way too long. Let's get to the eliminations just to quickly blast through it and then end the review. So Carmella pissing about with her mask after the bell into an immediate roll-up from Storm. Toni Storm with her awesome Ruby special to eliminate Zelina. Banks with a frog splash eliminated Morgan to no reaction. I was like, oh, well, that sucks. They've been building Morgan. She's been getting reactions, but there was... And in between those things was so much just stompy stomp downtime. The crowd... So much for the crowd to not care about. The back and forth they did not care for at all. As the match kind of like died down to then build up to elimination, they didn't care. In terms of in terms of pacing of the entire show, at this point this should be rapid fire. It should be like get your spots in kind of stuff, or pure showcase kind of thing. But because they went for the like this is a big Survivor Series kind of match and everybody kind of gets their moments in and they start off slower and get kind of build. The crowd just died. They're already dead, but it didn't bring them back. So anyway, Ripley gone via Baszler also to little response. So that's as what I would say is that, oh, Liv Morgan get eliminated. Oh, is that a sign of anything? Not at all. Rhea Ripley got no response, and she was one of the most over people when they were making their entrances. And she continued. Despite Rhea Ripley's almost becoming Jeff Hardy in the sense that her booking seemingly doesn't matter. She just stays over. The crowd, like whatever she's doing, the crowd are massively into her. There was no difference here at Survivor Series. It's like, oh, she's just eternally over like Jeff Hardy. Like good for her. But yeah, no reaction to this. Banks and Shotzi end up in a mini bit as her own team get her counted out. And it's like, okay. Right, even if you're not getting along, that's weird, strange. Don't quite get it. But the answer is, it's because they don't want to pin Sasha Banks. But they also want to have Bianca Belair look strong, pinning all the other three remaining people. So what do? She gets a count out, which is just... It gets her out of the match, but it doesn't make a lot of world sense. But it got her out, so... It served the plot, but it didn't make sense. She's like, okay, cool. Glam slam to Shayna within a minute after Bianca alone got that fire to get a quick pin over Natalya. And our final two were Shotzi and Bianca Belair. Shotzi actually got in some offense. Like, good for her. But Sliced Bread got halted and into the KOD she went. And and that was a victory for Bianca Belair. They got to do the bit. And yes, it was very blatant that as soon as Banks was gone, that Belair was going to be pinning all three of those people. The good news is it happened relatively quickly, and the final person who did it to was like a relatively new kind of rookie to the main event, to the main roster, getting like a strong moment. That's perfectly fine. The way they did that was perfectly fine, I guess. But I want to say it's down to pacing, because the before bit was just way too slow for the show that already had pacing problems. And I think, because I was already taken out, all I can definitely say is I was taken out by the Battle Royal, and I didn't get reinvested to a level by anything until the main event. So the next two matches just did nothing for me. And the main event didn't wake me up either. I thought I'd love it, because I'm so high normally on the Reigns main events. Even others haven't massively enjoyed them, I'm normally pretty high on them. Again, the Balor ending was BS, but I enjoyed the rest of the match. Here, with this Reigns match, it never really woke me back up. And I'm pretty certain that's just because the rest of the show had such poor pacing that I was just gone. Which sucks. It sucks. But again, Show itself, it's a weirdly mixed bag because I cannot recommend Flair versus Lynch enough. I'm really high on that match. Absolutely loved it. I don't think there's a fault there. 20 minutes that absolutely flew by. Can't praise it enough. Men's Survivor Series matches may not agree with all the decisions, but it kept those good vibes, and then the vibes just died. Yeah, skip the Battle Royal. RK versus the Usos didn't feel like it mattered, and neither did the Women's Survivor Series match. And then the main event felt like it mattered, and it probably is a more decent match when you've not watched the show with poor pacing until that point. But yeah, not the best. It's weird. And the biggest crime throughout the whole show, the one that gave me the biggest laugh, it's just that whole thing of the whole show building up how great The Rock is, and it's got the whole thing with the golden egg, and The Rock's not there. It's brilliant, absolutely brilliant. That's just it's just kind of like a show basic, surely, because again, because you control everything, what you do is you just don't make the show about The Rock if he's not going to be there. You have the Survivor Series show, which stands up on its own because a lot of The Rock stuff was kind of inserted over the top of it. Like all of the things with Red Notice, all of the Rock being a part of the Battle Royal name part of it. You can do everything on this show exactly the same without any Rock stuff, and it's still the same show. However, because they did the Rock stuff, they've built up an expectation. All you need to do to fix it is just not build up expectation. Brilliant. Oh dear. Well, I'm going to go to bed. It is like 5:45 in the morning. So anyway, that is the end of my Survivor Series show. What did you make of it? I'm mixed. I don't know what score to give it at all because I really enjoyed the opening match, and slowly just less and less. It's an odd one. I really don't know. I will say I find it funny. My ending thing was to have a good laugh, but I generally like, in a non-funny way, I generally really enjoy the opener. So yeah, there's that. So anyway, I'll be back. Don't know if I'm doing the Raw review. I'll definitely be back for the AEW Dynamite review on Thursday. I'm not 100% on Raw, but that's when I'm definitely in. And pay-per-view wise, I've now got a nice clean run until I doubt I can do first day. It's on New Year's Day. It's not, like you've not caught me at a good time. Weirdly, might be a bit busy. It's New Year's Day, but still, there's Royal Rumble coming up. I'm personally a big fan of there being like no TLC in December because it kind of feels like a carry through pay-per-view anyway. And you can use first day to do like a big kind of launching into the new year to be, because when they did New Year's Revolution back in the day, that also kind of worked to kind of like your final WWE offering before the new year, compared to this one, which was it early January? I can't remember. Just kicking off the new year with first day. I'm for the idea. I like it. Also, that means we're also shifting to Saturday pay-per-views as well, which is great for me. Which means that obviously doesn't hit the work week as strongly. You've got a day to recover. So like, all the applause for that. It makes so much sense for it to be on a Saturday, and AEW starting that and WWE following suit. I'm all for WWE moving to a Saturday for pay-per-views. Yeah, as far as I know, the only problem may be clashes with UFC, and I think that's less of a problem for WWE than it would be for AEW. So they can kind of possibly stick to their dates. Yeah, things like Royal Rumble and WrestleMania, they can hold their own. So yeah, looking forward to these Saturday night stuff. Ooh. Anyway, with that, what did you make of Survivor Series? Were you as high as I was on certain parts? Were you as low as I was on certain parts? What did you make of the main event? Did The Rock not being there mean anything? Were you fine with that? Did it have any effect on you at all? Or like me, well, I wouldn't say it affected my kind of overall reviewing on the show. I would say it made me laugh. Because I'm like, of course WWE. When the comparisons to how AEW were hyping up CM Punk were brought out to how they were hyping, praising The Rock on this show, and I was just like, yeah, I trust WWE have got The Rock here. Yeah, I'm fine with that. Yeah, this show feels like they are telling me they've got The Rock here. And then it's like, oh wait, no, they actually haven't. Then why did they do the rest of the stuff? Anyway, with that, I say thank you for watching, liking, engaging in any form, in any manner. Always appreciated, never taken for granted. You can follow me on Twitter at the Damn Implicat. That's damn as in damn. Also over on Twitch at the Implications with 2 S's. Then there's the Wrestling Headlines, the site we're doing this for as well. You can follow us on Twitter at Wrestle Headlines, that's Wrestle without an E, and also on Facebook at the Wrestling Headlines Facebook page to get all your latest wrestling news. So with that, I bid you adieu. Adios.